On my first day at the company, every colleague's computer screen was filled with a provocative photo of me and my ex-boyfriend. Before I was called into the CEO's office, I had already prepared myself to be fired. Make, with a calm expression, handed me some documents and said, "The project is great, and so is the figure." As for being Evan's girlfriend, that was a whole other matter. Today was the first time he brought me to a friend's gathering. I linked arms with Evans and entered the private room. As soon as we walked in, many people joked, "Make, where did you bring this beauty from? Is she yours or did Evans get her? You lucky guy, always changing partners." I stiffened, looking at Evans, but he was busy exchanging glances with everyone. "Stop it, stop it." Evans quickly deflected, grabbed a drink, and pulled me to the middle of the room. That's when I noticed a man sitting in the center of the sofa. His black shirt was casually unbuttoned, holding a drink in one hand while the other held a lit cigarette. He was relaxed, chatting and laughing with the people around him. This was probably the birthday boy of the day, the CEO of Hangley Technology Make. Evans put his arm around my waist and stood next to him, raising a glass. "Evans, here's to you. Wishing you health and success. Lucy, why don't you say something?" Absent-minded, I blankly looked at Make and instinctively said, "Happy birthday." Make's voice was soft. "Thank you." He stubbled out the cigarette, stood up, raised his glass to Evans, and drank it in one go. After sitting down, Evans and Make began talking nonstop. The previous project had fallen through, and Evans wasn't happy about it, so he vented to me for a while. Before coming here, Evans had already decided to try again, to win Make over. Before he could announce our relationship, I wanted to escape for a moment to get some fresh air. Just as I was about to leave, Evans grabbed me and shoved a lighter into my hand. "Baby, light a cigarette for Make." Before I could react, everyone in the room heard the noise and immediately turned to watch the show. I was caught off guard, holding the lighter awkwardly. Make, with his cigarette in his lips, leaned in, his eyes dropping to my hand. His voice, low and slightly muffled, asked, "Do you know how?" I couldn't use this kind of wheel lighter. Nervously, I tried a few times, but failed to light the cigarette. Just as I felt awkward, a cold, long hand covered mine. The thumb gently turned the wheel, and blue flames erupted. Make took a deep drag and the cigarette was lit. Seeing that I couldn't manage, Make decided to light it for me himself. Once his hand moved away, I hurriedly put mine down. The coldness from where his hand had been on the glass was still on my skin. Before I could relax, Evan's hand on my waist squeezed hard. A dark voice whispered in my ear, "Why are you so nervous when he touched you?" I flinched, feeling the pain, gritting my teeth. "Are you crazy?" Maybe I didn't control my voice well, because Make clearly heard, and his eyes narrowed, glancing at us. Evans, who cared a lot about his image, blushed after only a few drinks. "Lucy, you're getting too bold. Are you impatient with life?" I held back the urge to argue with him at Make's birthday party and walked to the bathroom. In front of the mirror, I debated whether to break up or not. Ignoring the secretive relationship, Evans was still my direct superior. My phone buzzed a few times. Thinking it was Evans looking for me, I checked and found messages from my colleague, Coco. Opening them, I was shocked by the explicit photos on the screen. The main character, of course, was my boyfriend Evans. Coco texted, "Lucy, seems like your boyfriend's still the best." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I knew this day would come, but not so soon. Coco, seeing I hadn't replied, sent another text. "When Evans and I were together, you didn't even know where you were. As a mistress, you're still the smallest one." I scoffed and replied, "Got anything else? Send them over, I'll have a good look." Closing the phone, I turned and headed back to the private room. That's it. I'm done pretending with Evans for all these months. If we're playing, let's play it to the end. When I returned, Evans quickly called me over. It seemed like Make was interested in his project. "Lucy, why don't you talk to Evans about the project planning?" I unbuttoned 2 shirt buttons and deliberately didn't sit next to Evans, instead walking over to sit beside Make. Which aspects is Evans interested in? Make seemed to see right through my thoughts. As he spoke, his gaze lingered on my neckline. "Everything's fine." I heard his vague answer, meaning he wasn't interested at all. But I still took out my phone. "How about this? Since it's your birthday, let's not talk about work today. I'll add your contact and we can talk more another time. Is that okay?" I didn't expect Make to readily pull out his phone and add me. Aside from his handsome face, I really had no idea where I stood with him. Once my goal was achieved, I stayed and had a few drinks with them. Just as we were about to wrap up, two servers came in, holding trays with several room keys. Make took his last puff of cigarette, stood up and said, "I've already booked rooms upstairs for everyone. Get some rest." Most couples were handed a single key, but the servers handed me two. I instinctively looked at Make, who was bent over, flicking his last cigarette. He straightened up, put on his jacket, and was about to leave. The servers helped me escort Evans out, and as we neared the door, I subtly gestured for Make to check his phone. He stood tall, his gaze more intense as he looked down at me, his cold face showing no emotion. After getting Evans to his room, I planned to leave. But suddenly, Evans grabbed me, shouting drunkenly, "Baby." I slapped him hard across the face, but unfortunately, he was so drunk he collapsed into the bed. Back in my own room, I couldn't hold back any longer and sent Make a message. 1808. After showering, I glanced at my phone. Just as I thought the message would go unanswered, there was a knock at the door. Looking through the peephole, I saw a familiar face. I opened the door. "You came?" Make sized me up in my V-neck bathrobe. "Why aren't you calling me sir anymore?" I smiled. Work and personal life are separate. Make chuckled, then swiftly pushed me against the door, his voice deep and hoarse. "Have you broken up with him?" I hooked my arms around his neck and gave him a flirtatious look. "Does that matter?" Make grabbed my wrist, pulling it away from him. "I don't play with someone who's taken." He walked into the room and I followed, confused. Make picked up my phone, which I had tossed on the couch, and held it in front of me. "Now, break up with him." I refused. That night, I parted ways with Make unhappily. I could feel he was interested in me, but that wasn't enough to make him settle for being the other man. My friend Luna called me. "You're crazy. You should go after Make. Why stay with that jerk?" I sighed. I'm worried he'll make things hard for me. I'm not ready to break up yet, because I have no leverage. It was clear that the first reason was more likely. Then I heard a knock on the door. It seemed like he had some work to take care of. He cleared his throat. "Lucy, let's meet this weekend." After returning to the office, Evans texted me. "Baby, let's go on a date this weekend. I've booked a seaside resort hotel." I couldn't help but feel disgusted when I read his messages. Every time Evans suggested a date, it was only because he was eager to sleep with me. Naturally, I wasn't going to agree to the date. In front of my career, Evans didn't matter. Because Make also asked me out. "Lucy, have you finished organizing the meeting materials?" "Lucy, is the PowerPoint done?" The office during work hours seemed like it only had me, and countless others gossiping by the bar, drinking coffee. I couldn't take it anymore and sent Evans a message again. "Can you manage your employees?" He quickly replied, and I was about to check it when suddenly my phone was snatched away from behind me. I turned and saw Coco, the department supervisor, arrogantly crossing her arms, holding my phone. "Playing on your phone during work hours? That'll cost you $200. Seeing that she wanted to read my phone screen, I immediately stood up to grab it back. She raised her hand and loudly read Evan's response aloud. "Baby, don't be mad. Tonight, I'll make it up to you." Before the words were even finished, everyone in the office turned their eyes to me, filled with contempt. Coco looked me up and down, her voice so loud that everyone in the office could hear. "I knew it, you've got that fox spirit, haven't you? You can't be honest anywhere. Always up to something shady. Using such despicable methods to rise in the ranks. I don't know if you're sick or what." I grabbed the water next to me and splashed it at her. "Shut your filthy mouth." At that moment, someone shouted from the door. "Stop!" Evans had arrived. Standing next to him was a tall man in a suit, and I immediately recognized his cold, indifferent face. The last time we were out, Evans had gotten drunk and tried to pull me into a kiss outside the men's restroom. Make had walked out and dragged me aside, giving Evans a sharp look before saying, "This is not the place for that." The atmosphere in the office froze. Evans, being the smart person he was, quickly signaled to Coco to leave, then he changed the topic, forcing a smile as he introduced the man. "This is Make, the CEO of Hangley Technology. He's here today to discuss a project with us." Once they saw him, the women in the office changed their expressions faster than flipping a book, greeting him in all sorts of flirty ways. Make slightly nodded, his face cold and expressionless. Hearing this, I couldn't help but take another look at him. Make was very tall, even taller than Evans, and his sharp features made him look imposing. Even without the incident, the name Make had left a lasting impression on me. He was always the one Evans mentioned as a career rival. Whenever Evans bragged, he'd say that he and Make were like brothers, but then he'd also boast that he would surpass Hangley technology within 3 months. But at every social event, he'd go out of his way to cozy up to Make, getting himself drunk in the process. Now, Make was the only one in the office who knew about our relationship. He seemed to look at me with a slightly strange expression. Evans waved at me. "Lucy, get the project files ready. The meeting is in 10 minutes. After they left, I gave a cold look to the empty water cup, and a mocking smile appeared on my lips. In the meeting, it was just me, Evans, and Make. I was in charge of the planning and presentation, but the project was listed under Evans' name. After the meeting, Evans rushed to the restroom. "Lucy, please entertain Evans for a moment." I lowered my head to tidy up the files, had a sip of water, and when I looked up, I saw Make leaning on his chin, staring at me without blinking. His gaze was deep and indifferent, as though he was trying to confirm something. I looked at him, confused. "Is something wrong?" Make, holding a pen in his hand, pointed it at my chest from a distance, counting down. "Miss Song, the 4th button of your shirt is undone." I quickly lowered my head and saw the black lace of my lingerie clearly visible. I quickly turned my back and fastened the button. After I adjusted my shirt, I hadn't recovered from the embarrassment when Evans came back. His gaze swept between me and Make, and he smiled wickedly. "Evans, are you interested in my assistant?" I couldn't believe Evans had become so narrow-minded that he would use me to get a sense of superiority in front of Make. Rather than the look of embarrassment on my face, Make remained calm, a faint smile on his lips. He easily threw the question back at Evans. "If I were interested, would she be mine?" Evans' smile froze for a moment. "That's not going to happen." It was the first time I saw Evans publicly defend me in the office. But the next moment, he made me look like a joke. "I can't find another assistant as beautiful and capable as her." Make slowly and deliberately said, "Assistant? I thought she was your girlfriend." I gritted my teeth. Evans was doing this for his pride, but Make wasn't any better. Compared to Evans' answer, I just wanted to walk out of that meeting room with dignity. Before he could speak, I cut in. "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving." As I walked out, I couldn't help but wonder if Evans would assert his dominance for his pride. The next morning, Coco called me, not saying a word, but live, streaming her night with Evans. The day after I broke up with Evans, clueless as ever, pulled me into his office. "Lucy, how dare you dump me? Found someone else, huh? Did you sleep with Make?" I slapped him across the face. "You bastard! Where were you last night? With whom? Doing what? Do I need to make it clearer?" Evans looked at me. "How do you know? Did you spy on my phone?" I scoffed. "Stop flattering yourself." Before long, news of my breakup with Evans spread like wildfire through the office. The resignation notice was quickly approved, as Evans must have been eager to see me fall from grace. What he didn't expect, though, was that I walked right into Hangley Technology under Make's name. On my first day at Hangley, I got up early, with my makeup perfect, and entered the office, full of anticipation. I smiled and greeted my new colleagues. But before I could say anything, I noticed the strange looks they were giving me. One of my colleagues turned her computer screen towards me. "This woman is you, right?" On the screen were my bikini photos, and not just that, there was also a man in the picture. It looked like I was posing seductively in front of him. Even though they cropped out my face, I could recognize the man. It was Evans. I looked around, and it seemed like everyone in the office had the same picture on their screens. Just then, there was a knock at the door. A man at the door said, "Lucy, the boss wants to see you." I clenched my fists. I didn't even have to guess. Make must be planning to question me about what was going on. Before going into the CEO's office, I had already prepared myself to quit on my first day. When I entered, Make was sitting at the desk. I walked over, keeping my head lowered. "I'm sorry for causing you trouble." I thought after such a big incident, Make would be furious. But instead, he calmly raised his gaze, handed me the files and said, "The project is great. And your figure too." I stood frozen in place, my eyes stinging. It hit me then, just how much I'd been tortured by the toxic work environment and my dysfunctional relationship. Make put down the files and stood up, walking over to lift my face. Why are you crying? I've already contacted a lawyer about the photos, he said, handing me a handkerchief. Lucy, that unhealthy relationship isn't worth holding on to. I crouched down, clutching the handkerchief, and broke down crying in his office. Make knelt down in front of me, lifting my face, his gaze full of complexity. At that moment, I think I understood his concern for me. Not long after, Evans had to compensate and publicly apologize for spreading the photos and editing them. Later, I found out that Make had also taken Evans to court for his intrusion into the system. A few days later, Evans found me in Henley's underground parking lot. Lucy, I really know I was wrong. I've broken up with Coco. Please, for old time's sake, can you ask Make to drop the lawsuit? I smiled lightly. Sorry, you're asking the wrong person. After parking his car, Make walked over and pulled me behind him, his gaze sharp as he looked at Evans. Instead of bothering my girlfriend here, maybe you should go figure out how to operate a sewing machine. After that day, I had a conversation with Make, or rather, I agreed to give it a try with him. We dated for 3 months. The project went smoothly, and the bonus allowed me to pay off my mortgage. At the celebration party, Make drank a lot. In front of everyone, he threw himself into my arms, murmuring, Lucy, when are you going to give me a title? Everyone in the office couldn't help but laugh, and I felt a little embarrassed. From their expressions, it was clear that my relationship with Make was no longer a secret. Make clung to me and I struggled to support him. Before we left, I waved to everyone. I'll take my boyfriend home first. The room went silent with surprise. That night, Make pressed me down and said, Lucy, I've wanted you for a long time.